That's perfect. Yes, Maria, Steven, thank you both so much for being available. I know it's a jam-packed media day for the both of you.
Yes.
No worries.
Thank you for having us.
Guys, so we'll just kind of jump right into it. First and foremost, this is Cyrus from attacktheculture.com. We pretty much cover hip hop from all different angles and movies, films, all types of things put together. And I got to tell you, having had the chance to, I don't know how well you can see it, but Sextortion, getting a chance to watch it, a lot of emotions. Oh my goodness. Cannot wait for the masses to be able to really, take this in. And I don't know if I should start with Maria or Steven. Just, feel free to kind of answer at will. But where in the world did the motivation, the need to put this entire project together come from? Because it's an absolute must watch.
Sure. So people approached Steven first at the end of 2019 and pitched this project to him. And originally it was supposed to be a follow doc in Orange County following human trafficking task force, lots of guns, lots of action. That all had to be scrapped at the beginning of 2020, as you well know what happened. We had to stay on the East Coast and look for a case that could demonstrate this specific crime, because the more we started doing research, the more we realized, oh my gosh, kids are online and this is happening to them with a 1000% higher rate than human trafficking, and no one is talking about it. Nobody knows about it. We are parents of back then was 9 and 11-year-old girls. Now they're 11 and 14. And we felt like we were supposed to tell this story. And then Department of Justice and Homeland Security disclosed this case for us and gave us all the files. So we had all the tools we needed to tell the story and to keep people's attention.
Yeah, Steven, please feel free to add in on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Like, 2 years ago, we didn't even know that sextortion was a thing, right? And so, like Maria said, we're parents. And as we started researching and deciding, should we make this movie, we found like 50 documentaries on trafficking, and we found nothing on this, which it's, as Maria said, 1,000 times more prevalent than trafficking. We also found out that the 10 to 15-year-olds are kind of the most at-risk group for this, and our girls were right smack dab in the middle of that. So it was very personal for us. And we realized, this thing is, people just don't know about it. It really is the fastest growing crime in the world that nobody knows about. And so we realized we got to make this movie.
No, absolutely. And, I'm going to go back to you, Maria. And like I said, we'll go back and forth between you and Steven. But, obviously having reviewed and seen screeners and, any type of genre, send it to me. I'll review it. This is one of those films that I could not take my eyes off of. Just the storytelling, the cases, Daniel Harris. Oh, my gosh. We won't spoil it for people who are going to watch it for the first time. But the way that you both edited it and made it just kind of feel so flawless. And I know there's a bunch of behind the scenes stuff of it was during the pandemic and you guys had to make sacrifices to make things happen. But just talk about just the presentation, because for me, I couldn't look away. I couldn't run to the kitchen and grab a soda, a popcorn or something. I just had to watch from start to finish. And that never happens when I do reviews. So Maria, starting with you.
Well, thank you. Thank you for saying all these things. But yeah, we definitely wanted to keep public attention. We wanted to have a really strong true crime element to this so people could understand on a granular level how this crime happens, but also be, the attention is kept, they can't leave. This case, several other production companies wanted to make this film, however, pandemic hit and we were the ones trusted with it. And it was amazing to us that every single point we wanted to make was kind of happened in this case and even more. We left so much on the cutting floor. It will blow your mind what he actually tried to do. It is bizarre. Unfortunately, it's not uncommon. So we even had to hire artists in Ukraine to paint the courtroom drawings using the photos of our actual people, because we couldn't physically go into the courtrooms and film. All the way till 2021, we couldn't even use actors. So we had to animate the drawings and use that to progress the story forward. And then we reshot portions of it and left portions of it intact. So definitely lots of challenges. We, traveled in RV instead of airplanes between locations because we couldn't physically get on the airplane and then interview a federal agent. That just wasn't an option before vaccinations and everything like that. So a lot of challenges, a lot of mental health challenges. I know October is coming up. It's a mental health week. As a parent, you kind of have aversion to this kind of topic and you're like, I don't want to talk about it. Let me put my head in the sand. And no, this doesn't happen. Unfortunately, it happens. Old data suggests 1 in 7 American children. New data says 1 in 4 are being targeted online for this specific crime. So my favorite line is, we don't talk about Bruno, no. But in this case, we're gonna talk about Bruno until we are blue in the face, until we can tell people, what can happen, not in a lecture format, but in an interesting film format, and then prevent this crime from happening to the next kid.
Steven, the producer, please weigh in on that.
Yeah, so documentaries back in the day, one of my favorite sayings, they used to be like the broccoli of filmmaking, right? But with Netflix and Amazon, they're kind of like the cool kids in town now, right? And so one of the things that we're really passionate about is that documentaries kind of function like empathy machines, right? So it allows you to see something in a way that you could never see before. And these true stories are often, like you said, stranger than fiction, right? So, we're able to, we're so quick to judge often, why would you send that picture? Why would you do that? But if we're able to go into this world for 90 minutes and you actually see, like Maria said, at a very granular level, how this crime is happening, we think that we can actually use the power of the documentary to change hearts and minds on this issue. The numbers are insane. There's 80,000 reports every single day to the cyber tip line on this crime, and parents don't know it. So that was very much why we wanted to make the film. And we believe that the power of the storytelling and the narrative art can actually help us to see it in a new way. And we actually think even policy change can happen because of it. We've been invited to screen the film for the European Parliament, the Pentagon, the Australian and the Dutch parliaments. Like, it's really going crazy, because people need to see this message. And so, that's why we're hanging out with you today, to let people know about it.
No, definitely. And you know what? Again, going back to you, Maria, and of course, I got to get your input on this, Stephen, is, watching it, the big thing that came to my eyes before actually being able to screen it is, oh, this is going to be something for the parents, kind of be aware. But within moments of seeing it, and obviously having seen the entire film, kids need to see this. I mean, at the end of the day, like, I think about being in school and watching the boring sex ed videos. It's like, this needs to be maybe not a replacement, but it has to be in some type of curriculum. I don't know what, high school, do we start at middle school, as is kind of referenced in the film, but is there any thought, maybe long-term, I know right now we just want to get it out to the masses, but of trying to maybe have schools consider bringing this into view? Maria?
Yes, absolutely. So number one, we cleaned up this case so much. It's rated PG compared to what we had was RRR in an actual case files, with the thought that all middle school and high school students should see this. We started working with National Center for Missing Exploited Children and Homeland Security agents to put together modules, educational modules based on the film with Q&A, kind of like, this are the questions you ask, and this is the questions you follow up with for any special agent or law enforcement or educator who wants to take it into schools. Because a lot of times these people are so busy with cases, they don't have time for presentations. Kids don't like presentations, but this is in a kid-friendly format, and we're expanding the library. After the release, we're going to be working on the library of different stories from different backgrounds of different children, to prevent this from happening to the next kid. So basically, yes, it's definitely has an education lag to it, and it's going to be expanded once we release the film.
Absolutely. Stephen, please.
Yeah, so a lot of them, like, we're realizing, talking to a lot of the people on the front lines dealing with this, right, that we literally cannot arrest ourselves out of this problem, right? So Erin Burke, who you saw in the film, she told us if I had every single agent working 24/7, 365, like, we literally couldn't keep up. So our understanding has become crystal clear that we have to move towards prevention, right? So if we can get parents and kids to see what's happening, we can start to move these numbers. And so we realize that, true crime is so popular right now, like Maria was saying. And so if we use these true crime tropes to tell the story, it doesn't feel like you're getting a lecture. And a lot of the prevention materials that are out there are either geared for really little kids, or they're pretty cheesy, right? And so we said, well, let's use this fantastical case, of a Top Gun pilot, Naval Academy graduate, in the year that Top Gun Maverick comes out. Is
Yeah.
just like, you couldn't even plan that any better, right? To use this in a way that teens and their parents can see something in a new way, and not be bored to tears while watching it.
No, definitely. And because I'm watching it, and a lot of it takes place in 2013. We're looking at 2013. I start thinking to myself, TikTok wasn't even created then, right? And I'm looking at some of these statistics about through the years, all these sexual enticements have just gone up. And I think a few months ago, Kanye West was so upset because Kim had his daughter, an 8-year-old daughter at the time, Northwest, on social media. And, you start to wonder, okay, is it the parents' fault? Is it the kids' fault? And, in a few moments, I want to get to the end, one big thing that you guys make sure to do, which is to provide a solution to tell the kids that, it's not your fault, have that conversation. We'll save that for a few minutes from now. But, just as all these social media platforms come together and these gaming systems, and now, people live on their phones, so to speak. Just kind of your take. It feels like there's going to be another series of these types of films coming sooner than later because there's so much new technology. It's so easy to just meet strangers, so to speak.
Yeah. And definitely 2013, 2015, this case was on Facebook and Skype. These days it's Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok, in 5 years it will be something else. But the MO of these predators is exactly the same as it was 15 years ago. We work with agents very closely who investigate this on the federal level and international level. And they literally say MO never changes. It is always exact same story, just, different platforms. So if we can teach children to see the red flags, not to share personal information they think they're not sharing it with a stranger. They think it's a friend. Their definition of a friend is very different than our generation, because they met somebody online 2 hours later, they think it's their friend for real. But that person not even be who they say they are, and not have the same profile picture matching their actual identity. Legislatively in our country, it's not illegal to be somebody else online. You can pretend to be whoever you want to be. So we just have to change how kids see the world online. They need to understand they're talking to real people and they're not always who they say they are. And we need to teach them what the red flags are to look out for. Just like when they get in a car at 15 years old, not to run the stoplight, over and over. Somebody's gonna smash into your car. The same applies to internet. So we have to teach them and also guard them. I think that our responsibility as parents is definitely not to take things away from them, but to have that honest conversation so we can be that trusted adult that they can come to if anything to happen, or just to ask questions. If we can keep this open, like back to Bruno, talking about sextortion over and over and over, it's gonna remove it from the taboo land into the normal land. And then kids will be like, okay, they're smart, they want to protect themselves, they want to protect their friends. They'll be like, okay, I know not to send a photo. I know not to trust a person and tell them what school I go to, because they might not be who they say they are.
Absolutely. Steven.
Yeah, so it has been incredible. So we're doing this 20-city tour right now leading up to the release. So I'm in Boston right now, and almost every night there's been a parent that has stood up in the Q&A and said this phrase: "Thank you so much for making this movie. I had no idea." Like almost verbatim, and so it's almost like this first ripple, right? And so also, like, hanging out with you today, like, your audience, we want to invite them to kind of join this front line, right? Because, like, if parents know what to look for and kids know what to look for, they're not going to get abused, they're not going to get tricked, right? And so that's where the film is so helpful. Like our oldest daughter, we've told her about this, till we're blue in the face, and she knows very well. But when she saw the picture that Dan Harris used on his Facebook profile for the first time, she still had a moment where she's like, wait, that's what he looked like, and so that's the aha moment that I'm hoping that parents, and I'm seeing it all over the country, that parents and teens are having, like, wow, now we know what to look for. And then those ripples go out to their friends and their friends. And if we can keep that up, we can start to change these numbers.
No, absolutely. And I'm just trying to pace myself because I have a bunch of questions, and I just cannot thank you guys enough for again taking the time out to speak. But you kind of sparked something in my mind. I was thinking about the SM part. One of the victims of sextortion towards the latter part of the film, and her biggest shocker. I mean, there was a bunch of shockers, but that her profile, her image was it was a whole a slew of people were looking at her, right? And I think even with myself, we think of predators, we think of, the Bill Cosby's or whoever, an individual person. When you explore it in the film, the dark net, there's just hundreds and thousands of these underground folks. And I mean, how important was it to make sure people realize that? Because that was the big moment for me that I said, whoa, because I've always just think of this person is probably, a 60-year-old so and so, right? And you guys really showed me in the film it could fit any description, and it's a whole network, which is scary beyond belief.
Yeah, it's very scary. And unfortunately, recently we had a lot of cases that involve teenage boys, and they are all victims of sextortion rings, not individual predators, and the rings are out there to get money from them. So Stephen was on the panel with Ryan's mom in San Jose, who just took his own life 5 hours after being sextorted. He was in Michigan as well, where another child, Jordan, took his own life within 6 hours of being sextorted. They know how to target kids. They know how to target right now as recently as older teen boys, like 16, 17-year-olds. And once they send that revealing image or video, they flip on them almost immediately, and then they demand money in return. So it can be demanding images, it can be demanding money, it can be individual people, it can be, sextortion rings that are operating right now. They're operating out of Nigeria and Ivory Coast, kind of like the old Nigerian bank scheme is now becoming a sextortion scheme. So it's just something, it's a matter of education. Kids need to know about this.
Absolutely. Steve.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I just want to expand a little bit on what Maria was saying earlier. So, our oldest daughter is, 14. She's already asking us like, when does she get to start driving? And we're like, yeah, right. but when you think about it, before we give them the keys to the car, they have to take a test, right? They have to learn the rules of the road because it's a tool, right? It's not inherently good or bad. And then we had spent an entire year with them driving, so that they are safely able to navigate the road, right? But then as parents, we're often giving our 10-year-olds or 11-year-olds an iPhone or an iPad, and we're effectively putting them on like an information superhighway, and then we tell them nothing, right? And then they know the tech better than we do. And so they don't know the dangers of the road. And so the technology is not good or bad. I mean, we're getting to hang out with you, and we're in 3 different states right now. And like, this is like 4, so it's just like amazing technology. But if we don't teach our kids how to use it safely, then that's how they're getting tricked.
Absolutely. And just a few more things for you guys. I just referring to the Amanda Todd situation. I think that trial was just a few months ago, June to August, and like that was just amazing within itself. But it made me realize, I think it was a Dutch Turkish gentleman who had associations with other types of crimes. But it's such a worldwide thing, because I think I get very spoiled here in America that you just think, oh, it just happens here. And as you guys have mentioned, Nigeria, it's all over the place. How are other countries maybe willing, or have you noticed, do you feel like there's a step in that direction of what you guys are presenting in Sextortion, that all countries want to at least try to make that step forward so that law enforcement gets involved, and then there's steeper punishments and justification or justice that takes place? I guess, what is the overall feel with bordering countries and countries from afar and their involvement in trying to get your message across?
I've been invited to screen the film in October for European Parliament, also Dutch Parliament and Australian Parliament. We just screened it on Sunday for Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
For different, agencies, and also people who can help us with legislative change. But it definitely varies country to country. In Europe, they're working on a legislation right now. It's hard to bring people over, and it takes years, as with Amanda Todd, it took 10 years to find justice for her and for her mom, and she had to stay strong all of these years. An amazing lady, amazing story. But yeah, it's so hard to prosecute these people and bring them over. It's easier to prevent and educate, honestly. I mean, these kids, even after they are saved from this crime, they live a life of trauma for quite a while because they have to recover, and they often blame themselves for being, getting tricked, even though it's absolutely not their fault. It's the fault of the predators. They are the predators and the kids are the victims. It's much easier to prevent and educate, cover from this goes with prosecuting these crimes. It's crazy. The stories the agents tell us are crazy. And at every single screening, we have an agent with us from the film, from Homeland Security, who knows most recent up-to-date information of how these crimes are happening.
Look, see.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing that kind of came to mind while Maria was talking is that, Paul Walpert from the film from Homeland Security, he told us, HM in the movie, she's the only person that told, and so because of her bravery and coming forward, not only did the extortion stop, that's about the only way it stops is when you tell, because the perpetrators are using silence and shame to keep you in their power. And so because she told, 200 other victims were saved. And then he was on the stage with me a couple of days ago, and he said he's working a case right now where the perpetrators in Northern Ireland, only one person told, and they found 300 other victims, right? So like a message that we hope that the film, is for kids is, if you want it to stop, you have to tell someone. And then for parents, make sure that you are a safe place for them to tell. That they one of the biggest fears that kids have that keeps them in this bondage and they try to fix it by themselves is because they don't want the parents to take away their cell phone. It's like so crazy. We don't think about that, but for them, that's their life. And so if we as parents, I tell at these screenings all the time, if you come away with one thing to take with you today, make sure you tell your kid, if something happens, I'm not going to take away your phone. Just tell me. No judgment. You're not going to get in trouble. I'm here for you. And that, can save a lot of kids.
And on this note right here, guys, and you pretty much answered it right there, Steven, the importance of ending the film. I go back to, I think I jotted down SM, I believe was her name, at the very end of the film, right? Number one, having somebody that people can relate to, right? Because it's one thing for an adult, agent, Homeland Security person to tell you, when you see the actual victim speaking out, letting us know that, oh, wow, I can relate to her so well. And even more than that, explaining, yeah, we hate our parents, but it's because they love us so much and things like that. I just took so much away from that. And how vital was it to make sure that you ended on that note? So as you just mentioned, Steve, that the kids understand that, the parents really do love them, and, they don't want to try to give you restrictions, because kids will find ways to go around it. But just know, hey, have that conversation. At the end of the day, have that conversation is what I got the most. Maria, and then Steve.
Yeah, absolutely. And, she's so brave and so wonderful. She actually chose a profession that helps people and very excited about speaking out. And part of our film, we were hoping to give the voices back to the voiceless, the kids who are sitting in the shadows, being victimized and don't have a way of telling someone. The cyber tip line receives 80,000 reports every single day, and every single child who calls, almost every single child, thinks they're the only one. But there are 80,000 of them per day. So we want to, share the message. You're not the only one, and you're not stupid, and you've been tricked, and just come forward, tell someone. The parents do love you. You won't get in trouble. They won't take away your phone. Just tell someone so this can stop.
Amazing, Maria. Thank you, Steven. On that final note, yeah.
No, thanks for having us, man. And just maybe a message for the audience, if you guys want to find out more, sextortionfilm.com is the website. The film comes out 10/4. So the pre-orders are on, and we made them as inexpensive as iTunes would let us. So it's only $10, and all the profits are going to 501s that are working to keep kids safe online. So if you guys could pre-order the film on iTunes, it's going to help the film to chart, which brings it up in the conversation and also gets the attention of the streamers. So that would be a huge help for us. And so, yeah, so we're looking forward to it. It's just a week or so away, and the film will be released globally.
Absolutely. Maria, Steven, thank you both so much. And you have an amazing PR team that keeps me updated. So as you guys make announcements, as there's new updates, as you guys do all that great stuff, I'll make sure on our end to keep everybody informed. So thank you both for your time today.